order at 7 o'clock. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alex, can you call roll call vote, please?
Sure. Robert?
Here.
Becky?
Here.
Tanya?
Here.
Libby?
Here.
Fritz?
Here. I declare we have a quorum. Can I get a motion to recess regular meeting?
I'll make a motion to recess the regular meeting.
Open up for the public hearing, discussion of the DOT developer, selection of the water treatment plant. Joe?
Well, this is a subject that's been before the council multiple times. We had a committee put together to look at the RFPs that were sent out for the water treatment plant and also the town hall and parks and the development projects that we'll be working on. So in order to keep it all in line, legal up and up, we did our posting, advertising, and tonight we'll be having a public hearing for anybody in the public that wants to discuss the bond, if there's any concerns or comments on that. And as we reconvene a little bit later, the town council can award that contract to the selected firm.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Second is discussion of the BOT developer section for the town hall parks department.
Yeah, I just kind of wrapped that all up.
Oh, you're right, we both together. Okay.
Same.
Sorry about that. Okay, can I get a motion to close public hearing?
Well, are we looking for, do we do anything on this?
Not during a public hearing.
No, just need to take any comment that
Right.
anyone in the public may have.
All right, so I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Can I get a motion to reconvene council meeting?
I'll make a motion to reconvene the regular council meeting.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
We need a second on that.
Yeah.
A second. Sorry, I'm not fast enough.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Sorry, thank you. Motion to approve the minutes of last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, thank you. Okay. Next up, we're gonna move Dr. Jack Parker up on the meeting. Come on up, please.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to spend a few moments of time with you all this evening. I've been serving Mount Vernon as a superintendent for almost 3 years. This is actually my 4th school year because they came during the midterm or the halfway through the first year in January 2019. And I thoroughly enjoy living in the community. My wife and I purchased some property and built a home just a mile south of our main campus. We're in Fortville all the time. It's really our favorite place to visit. Sorry if those are other communities, but we absolutely love the town of Fortville and we come frequently. But again, I appreciate the time this evening. I just want to share a couple of reports. The first thing is our health and safety for our schools is the #1 thing because we can't teach kids well if we can't do everything else well, and health and safety is #1. And as you know, we've had an incredibly difficult start to the school year, something that was very unexpected with the Delta variant. Just to put it in perspective, last school year, we had 304 positive cases total, with about 1,700 close contacts that had to quarantine. We got to our 100th case of COVID positive individuals on the 20th day of school, where last year we did it on the 68th day of school. While our COVID numbers don't quite get to 304, they are 146 right now, with about the same number of folks that were a close contact and potentially on a quarantine. Now, we do have several that have been vaccinated. About 15% of those that were close contacts of our students and staff. So we've only had to quarantine about 1,449. I want to share with you how delighted we are about the new Indiana Department of Health guidance that basically allows us not to quarantine anymore. I mean, it's in an incredible rare case where we will really have to quarantine anymore. Of course, we will conduct our close contact investigations and let parents know to pay attention to their child if they're within 3 feet of somebody else. But for the most part, we're just delighted to be able to do that. And we feel very strongly we're going to be able to keep in-person learning moving quite a bit this year. I also want to share with you that I'm very appreciative of your support. We have basically completed a land swap. We sold almost 60 acres down to the south end of our district and purchased just under 60 acres. Actually, I think we sold 57 and bought 59 around our campus. We do own all 3 of those properties now. 2 of those were already a part of Fortville, and those were rezoned, as well as the east property that we purchased. We have asked for it to be annexed into Fortville, and that's all settled. So I can't tell you how appreciative we are. We are growing. This is a record number for us this year. We have record enrollment. We are over the 4,500 mark, and we're just really excited about that. We know the kids are coming. We are moving forward with a future growth plan. We're going to be constructing a new elementary school because Fortville Elementary is really an intermediate building, and the community champions wanted to bring an intermediate school back to Mount Vernon. So we're just going to redeploy that school as an intermediate school. It's got huge locker bays, big gym, wide hallways, an extremely large cafeteria, a band room, it's got intermediate school stuff. So we're going to bring that on as an intermediate school and save some money and just replace that as an elementary on some of this property that we have purchased recently. We also need to completely redo our transportation center. It is woefully inadequate, and we're going to move it and build a new transportation center on the property as well. We have to actually increase the size of Fortville Elementary. It's already at capacity now. We can get that done before we bring the new elementary school online, because that school, as an intermediate school, is going to need additional capacity as well. And then the other thing, and I think everybody in the community is going to be happy about, is we're going to fix a lot of our parking and traffic patterns on our main campus. It is just not good. The way parents have to stack up cars and drop off and do the crazy things we have to do. It is pretty amazing what we have to go through just to get kids into school on time and safely, and then depart on time and safely. So we're looking forward to doing that as well. The other two other little things I just want to mention is we are continuing to talk about our operations fund. We have an operations fund cliff in 2 years when our increment goes away. I've shared that story publicly many times, and maybe even here some time ago. I'm happy to talk about that more with you if you're interested in our operations fund and how that's going, but we are working towards a resolution for that. And the last thing I want to say is we are very excited. I don't know if excited is the word. We're very honored to be able to host a 20th anniversary 9/11 commemoration on Friday, September the 10th, just this Friday. As a matter of fact, Chief Bratton is going to announce one of our moments of silence. We're going to recognize all first responders in our community. We are also going to recognize veterans. Active military will be there. It'll be a program with some of our kids participating. We have representative kids from all schools. We're going, because of COVID and where we are in logistics, we are going to live stream this in all of our schools. But we are very happy and honored to be able to provide this celebration and commemoration of first responders and of our military, both active and veterans, this Friday. You're all welcome to come. It's at 9:11 a.m. on Friday at the high school football field, Hancock Health Stadium. So that's really all I wanted to share with you. And just again, thank you so much for giving me a few moments of your time. I'm always happy to meet with you individually, in pairs, communicate via email or phone. Don't hesitate to reach out. it's usually best to reach out to our Director of Community Relations, Maria Bond. She's kind of one of the quickest ways to get to us. If you have any questions now, great, but I know you have a lot of business, so I'm very happy to step back and let you conduct your business for the rest of the night.
Do we have any questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Okay, unfinished business, the 2022 budget presentation, Beth.
Okay, so you've got packets, I think, of all the budgets, so I'm just gonna sort of go an overview and then review, and then, let me know if there's any questions or adjustments that you might wanna make, because I'll be advertising this in a couple weeks. So just as an overview, we'll first start with the salaries. So I met with all the department heads and all the things of everybody's meeting. And one of the things, so basically overall, the salaries are increased at 4% in this budget. Then we made some adjustments for the police to try to bring some of them up to standards with what other forces in the area and the size are. So on the lower levels, there's about a 12% increase, and then there's about an 8% increase, and then it merges into the 4% for the rest. So it sort of stair steps up to get everyone somewhat in line with the area departments. You'll notice that we moved the planning department salary over to the general fund. It's been an MVH in the past, and we moved it to general fund because that's where the fees that we collect and everything are. So really, that's where we decided that really should be there. So we moved that over. So on some of these things, you're going to see salaries a little bit higher, and that's the reason why. On the park, we added a part-time person for about 30 weeks a year for about 20 hours. So we added that into the budget. And then also last year, which I think I'd mentioned that we're going to be doing an additional appropriation, which I'll be doing that when we do the public hearing for both the police and the park, for the extra officer that we brought in starting in July for the general, and then the park, it's about 50,000. It's either 40 or 50,000 that we'll be doing for the difference from, because it got budgeted wrong, and I'll take responsibility because I think it was because I just didn't get it moved up or something in the formula. But bottom line is, we have the cash. It was supposed to be there, so we just need to do that. So that's for the most part the salaries, and then all the taxes and everything that go along with that. And then the deputy clerk, the longevity pay was changed, which that was voted upon, so I put that in the budget as well. Then as far as other expenses, most things have increased about 3%, except for if things haven't changed. I left them the same in the budget. If they've, remained the same and nothing really has changed, or we're not even close to using the budget, I left it the same. Utilities, I increased like 10%. And then health benefits, we base those at about 12%. And again, we haven't got new rates on some of those, but last year it's come in lower. So sometimes that becomes a gain. So because there were quite a few things that we have increased through the budget, I made sure that, everything could be covered as far as that. And I've looked at like our miscellaneous revenues and what this increased between each year. And that more than covers what the increase was. And also the levy, the levy increase that we get each year. So those were taken care of. We've also, under MVH, you'll see that we added, we talked about adding potentially a lease for the Bobcats. We put that in there, which we put that in there as well. You'll see that under MVH. And then also you'll notice there is, we received those federal dollars, those ARPA dollars, about $900,000. That has to be put in the budget, even though we know what it's allocated for, but it has to be approved by council and has to be put in the budget. So that's put as another fund. So I had to put that in there, and then that's already been allocated that you're wanting to use for the water treatment plant, which is in there, but that has to be added. Even though it's not a levied account, it still has to be appropriated and approved by the council. So I put that in there. The other thing is that affects every budget is the circuit breakers, because again, you're capped at what you receive as far as dollars. And our current year circuit breakers are $378,000 approximately. And I had moved it to 450. Originally, I was gonna do about 416, but because potentially this water treatment plant, because when it comes into play, could affect your general circuit breakers, I just bumped it to 450, which is being more conservative, so that we have more cushion in the budget for that, and again, it affords for that. Again, everything I tried to do is be conservative as far as that. Expenses, I tried to, like on trash, I made sure I allocate for new residents coming in, but I didn't increase the miscellaneous revenue just to offset that, just to make sure, again, to have some cushion and everything in there. So again, I'm just trying to be very conservative on that. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, what it is. I mean, like I said, you've got the analysis, which sort of goes over the highlights of everything. And then you've got the summary budget, which is all the numbers. And then you've also got the sheets that give you what like items are in each of those categories if you want to go through and look at those as well, which is what I do every year. So, review it, feel free to email me, email Missy, call me or whatever, I'll be glad to go over anything. The public hearing is on October 4th, and at the same time, we'll have the public hearing for the additional appropriation. And then also the approval is on October 18th. And then again, the advertising for that will be through Gateway, which is what it is every year. And that'll be available then through there if anybody wants to see it. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you for doing this, Beth.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time and your meeting the other night, last week as well.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for presenting some information as well. And Pat, thank you.
Thank you. We don't have to approve anything on this, it's just a discussion. Okay, moving on to Reynolds Construction. Council to consider a resolution awarding the BOT projects.
By looking at me, you want to take it?
So this is just the next step. We had the public hearing. This is governed by statute. Now that we've had the public hearing on the BOT projects, the council's previously discussed the matter, and this resolution would complete the selection process if the council adopts it so that we can move forward. And it is set up to select Reynolds as the contractor, which again, council's discussed this at length in a prior meeting.
Any questions, council?
This will be 9A.
Yes.
It will be, but I did notice that there's another resolution in the back labeled 9A. So we can either change that one and make this be D.
Do 9B.
That's fine.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-9B, resolution of the Fortville Town Council approving award of build, operate, transfer contracts with Reynolds Construction by title only.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. All right, next up is ordinance number 2021-7A, Buyers Estate PUD rezone. Council to consider second reading on changing of zoning classification.
Real quick, we're gonna need a signature on that last one.
Yes.
Is that here? Or is that something else? Or do you
It's
have
the
it?
very first one in this is the first one in my book.
All right, good evening. For the record, I'm Adam Zaklakowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town. I'm just going to go over some of the basic information on the project. I won't get into a lot of the development standard details. We can certainly do so, but everything was vetted by the Planning Commission at their last meeting, so in the interest of time, we'll try to keep it brief. The applicant on this planned unit development is Althoff Homes, and it's located at the northeast corner of Fortville Pike and 850 North. So it's just east of where the Mount Vernon North subdivision is today. The current zoning is R 1.0. It is in the town limits. And they're seeking this rezone to PUD, which would be accompanied by these development standards, by a concept plan, as well as some building elevations as well. It's about a 112 acre property, and on that property, they're proposing 348 dwelling units. So about half of those dwelling units would be in the form of single family units. And then the other half would be what's called a paired villa product. It's technically a two-family product. Minimum lot width on the property is 60 feet. And then what I'll do here is I did want to go over this portion of it. If you're inclined to approve it tonight, at least to factor in your decision, is there's some criteria that Indiana code requires both the Plan Commission and the council to consider. It's not binding, but these are points that you're to consider as part of your determination. So the first one is, if you were to rezone it, would that be consistent with the comprehensive plan? And both myself and the Plan Commission said no and yes, meaning that the map for the town, the future growth concept map, identifies the parcel as predominantly agricultural. But it is across the street from an existing high quality subdivision, and the comprehensive plan also in the text, quote, encourages the development of high quality mixed use and mixed income housing. And so, as I mentioned, this neighborhood does have a couple different product types. Number two, if you're to rezone it, would that be consistent with the current conditions and the character of the current structures? The answer would most likely be no, but with an asterisk, meaning that the property is currently undeveloped farmland. However, the new proposed housing would be consistent with the new zoning. Number three, would this be the most desirable use of the land? Yes. It does contain a mix of single family and two family housing appealing to different residents. And a diversity of housing product is in the best long-term interest of the town to have a housing stock which can meet market demands as they change in time. Fourth one is, if you were to rezone it, would that be consistent with the conservation of property values? So the Plan Commission felt yes, that the stringent development standards established in the PUD will help to ensure high property values. And then number five, would this be consistent with responsible growth and development? The answer would likely be yes. It's near an existing subdivision, and this one would be of high quality. I just want to point out a couple things on the map. So this particular neighborhood, first, it's important to know that no vinyl would be allowed. Would be fiber cement siding. In terms of the other materials, each home would have to have some masonry on it, some stone or some brick. We decided not to do a prescribed amount because it can vary quite a bit and it allows some more architectural freedom. During the Plan Commission meeting, there were a number of comments and concerns from nearby residents. Some of them were concerned about potential traffic impacts in the area. And to that end, the Plan Commission did grant this a favorable recommendation, but they recommended a condition that is in the ordinance that says that the developer needs to do really a full-blown traffic impact analysis on the project to ensure that the access points that are shown are appropriate and that the surrounding roadways can handle the traffic. They've done some, they had an engineer take a limited look at some of the turning movements, and their engineer felt comfortable with the layout, but the bottom line is that the Plan Commission wanted to see something more robust that covers more holistically those types of impacts on the surrounding area. The other thing that's of note about this project is, as you can see, there's two pocket parks that they're providing. And they really be both visual amenities as you come in and then functional amenities as well. So it's definitely an interesting design feature that you see in a lot of what we call neo-traditional neighborhoods. Is something that would work fairly well here. The other comment that we had heard from the nearby residents had to do with the woods. So the woods that are on the property right now are about 10.6 acres. They would not be preserving the entire wooded area. They preserve about half of it, about 5 acres, and they would add a trail within that as well. So certainly over the long term, there would be additional trees that would be in some of the park spaces, but certainly it's an understandable concern from the nearby property owners about the loss of some of those very mature trees in that patch. The other thing, what I can add about the access points out onto 850 is we did take a look at the spacing, and the spacing, for example, in the southwestern portion of the neighborhood, because you have 2 local streets at 850 and this local subdivision street coming in, that spacing is appropriate from the intersection. It's about 300 feet. Additionally, along 850 north, there would be a mound in place, there would be trees in place. In fact, the mound would be up to 5 feet in most places. So certainly, in conclusion, you have the opportunity tonight to either approve the project, approve it with some conditions, or you could continue it to a further meeting. As we said, the Planning Commission did want the developer to do a traffic impact analysis. So, that could be very useful information in terms of making your final decisions. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to address those. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I don't at this time.
Already got mine answered.
Pardon me?
I got mine answered.
Yes, your answer.
Can I ask a question, just logistics? So the traffic study that's gonna be done, we approved this with that contingency. Then they have to come back and we're still open to negotiations or conversation or changes or how?
Well, that's a good question. So the way that's written right now, if you were to just approve the ordinance with the language that's in there, taken from the Planning Commission, what it's basically saying is whatever the results of that traffic study are, they're going to implement it. They have to do it. So it doesn't mean that it would come back to you all. Alternatively, you could say, maybe we're not comfortable approving it without that piece of information right now, and we want to see what the results of that are. That's also an understandable thought process as well, in my view. And then it is important to remember that when they go to develop their preliminary plat for this, they're going to look at those development standards, they're going to look at this map, and as part of our assessment and the staff's assessment and the Planning Commission's assessment, they're going to say, well, is it consistent with the PUD? So I think it's really important that if there's anything at the zoning stage that you don't feel comfortable with or that you need more information on, that those be addressed now. The more that we can button up now, the more clarity it'll provide to the developer and the public moving forward. And frankly, this is, at the zoning stage, this is when the town has the most ability to make changes to the project. Once that zoning is approved, then it's about following what was approved.
I think we need to look at it.
Did you want to?
Yeah, I think we need to look at it just to see if there is an option to move that one.
This
Yeah,
option?
to take an entrance out on Fortville Pike, just south of the buyer's property that's still gonna stay there. It will split the retention pond, but we talked about that.
What's that guy's? Come on up, people in the house, please. Come on up.
I think.
Sorry,
Trying to whisper while he's on my phone.
we just had a couple of discussions real quick while we were up here when we talked about the police. I think most of that aggravation, or not the aggravation, but the concerns were the three entrances on 850. And Tanya kind of came up with maybe an idea. How about they just dead end that? They can
Yeah,
they can still use those lots.
Yeah.
Just like they do.
And they could do that in hopes of something going on.
Are you looking to speak to Derek Hayes? Is that,
Yes.
Derek, why don't you?
Sorry about that.
I'm Nicole Sound, I'm here for
Let's
Brian.
come on here for a second. And what they're talking about is maybe that everything, that you don't lose some of these lots and extend this, but we don't know if this is.
If you can sacrifice any of that retention pond, make it good space or not, or.
We're open to looking at it. From what we've analyzed so far, I think typically you want to line up the entrances, and where Mount Vernon North entrance is pretty close.
I don't really agree with that because it's too close to 850 still. I mean, that's why
Yeah,
I
that's why
thought we should move
They
it up.
recommended not
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah, move it up closer to.
Yeah, that would be something for you all to consider on whether you want.
You really want them coming out across from each other.
Because then it really interferes
More
with traffic.
I would say that if it wasn't that close to 850, but I think that's gonna make it a nightmare if you do that. Then you got three,
Yeah,
I don't think that looks good.
and that's the reason we did it.
Yeah.
Put it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was too far south. Most
Sure.
of that.
That's one question we just had. So do you wanna approve it or wait till after the traffic study? That's a real big question.
I think we should wait just to see what they say and what you come up with. I mean, what you feel like, and let's see what it looks like.
Okay.
And
Well-
let the people
Yeah.
that are questioning it or have problems with it, look at it too.
Yeah. Well, I think the way that it was written was that, we would do a full-blown traffic study, whatever those results are, we would implement. So we're agreeing to, whatever makes the most sense traffic-wise and is acceptable to the town, we will implement. So we're hoping to continue moving forward, get to the preliminary plat, and then we can, work through all those details and make sure the results of the traffic study are implemented.
But what if it says that that's not feasible to do something like that, or you shouldn't do that? Then you're still gonna have the three entrances on 850? Is that what will happen
We
if
can
they?
still look at removing one
Okay,
if that's the desire, but
okay.
I
So
mean,
there is an option to do that at
Yeah.
some point.
we're not traffic experts
Yeah,
ourselves,
well,
so
I'm not either.
we want to rely on,
Yeah.
on the traffic engineer and whatever is, safest as far as traffic patterns and is most desirable for the town, we will implement.
I have a question. Will it be possible to extend a street out to 900, take one of them off of 850 and go out to 900?
I don't believe there will be. It gets pretty narrow going through there, and there is a floodplain up in that corner. Part of the PUD standards that we agreed to were a path going from that street up to 900, and then kind of replanting that area with some native grasses and reestablishing that as a nice open common area.
Adam, refresh my memory, is there gonna be a walking trail down Fortville Pike?
Yes. It was a
Yeah.
concrete sidewalk.
Sidewalk, okay.
Yep, there will be a trail along 850 north as well. And I don't know if you can tell, but there are some trails in the middle connecting kind of in different open spaces.
You're actually putting a sidewalk on 850, right?
Yes, yeah, either a sidewalk or an asphalt walking path.
Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Yeah, I don't have any.
And you're still widening it at the 4 foot, right, on
Yes.
850, that's the plan?
Yep, we have agreed to road improvements currently, and then whatever comes out of the traffic study, we'll do that as well, which is like widening 854 feet and some other repairs to bring it up to speed.
Okay.
Will the bridge stay the same, or would that, because bridges are expensive?
On the far east, or,
Yeah, the creek.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
wanted to mention
yeah, we would
that.
not get to that point. I think it was written up to the eastern entrance.
Yeah, that bridge has been recently replaced. It looks fairly new.
But Is it wide enough?
I think so.
That traffic study will look at that.
Yeah, and I really don't know how many people are gonna travel that way anyway. It might be few and far between, but
I think they may go that way to avoid the traffic on Fortville Pike. You're aware that there's a drainage ditch that runs down along 850, right?
Yeah, we'll have to accommodate that drainage appropriately.
All right, thank you. I'll open up for public comment. Does anybody want a public comment? Thank you. Sean?
Good evening, all.
good evening.
Sean Nugent, non-Fortville resident, but I do bump up to this new development on 850. The discussion regarding the traffic, I'm not a traffic expert, so I'm just a common old farm boy hillbilly. When I look at this, the traffic that we have now on that road is very minimal, but I will tell you, and I think the people and the residents can attest to this, we have quite a few skaters that come down 850 running 70, 80 miles an hour trying to avoid the current traffic that we have on Fortville Pike. One suggestion I might make as you go to do the study, and I don't know who controls this, I don't know if this is you or the county, but what would you think about changing the speed limit from Fortville on Fortville Pike all the way to 234 to 35 miles an hour?
We've
Start that.
Yeah, we're working on that.
we've actually looked to lower that speed limit, but it had to be warranted.
Okay,
So until we had more houses going in out there, we were able to lower it down to 50 from 55. And as soon as the houses start going in and we've got the numbers, then we can lower it on down.
So
Bring it
this-
down, it'll probably be more what our town speed limit is.
Yeah.
and this really doesn't affect me as much because I'm able to avoid traffic, most of the traffic, just because of the job that I'm in. But I know that my neighbors and some of the people that have to work out on the Fortville Pike in the morning, we're already to the point where we're forcing people to go back the other direction, go down 50. You've got your development set up to be able to widen your road all the way down to that bridge, all the way down to the west side of that bridge there on the east end of that picture. And once this happens, which we get it, we're not trying to fight change, but you're going to force people to start going that other direction. So I don't know if it makes sense when you do your study to really look at that and take into account that there may truly be a play to go that direction, because those people are going to go east and then they're going to go down to 234. So for me, it's just a common sense thing. If you're going to study, one of the things that might affect it is the speed limit, which could change things, right? Because we've got a lot of people flying from Fishers. They don't stop in our town and spend money. Maybe 10 or 15% of them might, but most of them are flying straight through, and they don't have to care about anything other than moving their butts down to Greenfield or Shelbyville or out to 74 to go to Cincinnati. So that's one of the things that I see that something to consider if you're going to do the study. Again, talk to somebody that's a traffic expert. How would the study look like if you did it with the current speed limits, and then if you did it with lower? And then, Joe, I'm not gonna lie, I know we have police officers there, I don't follow the speed limit, I drive with the flow of traffic. I got a blue truck with my face on it.
We've never seen it.
But anyhow, I know at some point in time it runs 45 through there and some of it's 50. It doesn't make sense, like if you're not from the area, but I drive like 42 and a half everywhere I go. If you wanna pull me over, but I don't cause problems. I just look at that and I think, man, as much speeding, and I live, 3 driveways in there. So Friday and Saturday nights, lots of drag racing on Fortville Pike. It's a pretty hot area. We've got a lot of car people here, which I appreciate, but it's kind of crazy. So just something to think about, the 35-mile-an-hour piece. That's my piece for tonight. I hope that helps you.
Thanks.
And who would do the traffic study? Madison Central Governments?
Madison County Council, that's who did it for us
I
last.
don't think we can, they'll how they look at that? The
Yeah, in
adjustment of
fact,
speed.
and that's something we had talked about before and Alex looked at. We can't lower the speed limit unless it's warranted.
We have to have it supported by a traffic study.
Right, okay, so this might be the.
It may.
And then getting those homes in there.
Well,
Play into that.
My name is Chris Gray. I also live on 850. I wanted to thank Adam for the nice study he did. I had some questions on one of his slides. you had in there that it wasn't consistent with the comprehensive plan, which was a yes and no. It was kind of yes, it was, no, it wasn't. And one of the items was that it would be consistent with the current structures. But I don't believe we have any multifamily structures in that area. So that would be a no, not a yes, no. The other item was that there was a inclination to require bricks on the homes, but no percentage. And I was curious as to the subdivision across the street that's going in new, wouldn't we want to meet the same standards that they have to keep property values the same? So yeah, there's a couple items there that I felt like were maybes, not necessarily definite yeses. So I'd like that the council keep that in mind and apply that standard when they look at the report and look at the proposed homes. Everyone else here, we want our home values to go up, not down.
Right.
And I don't believe that there's any homes on the street that don't have a decent percentage of masonry, or they're extremely old. Maybe not old, but I mean, they're historic homes.
Right.
I thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. What was the percentage of the Vernon North or that south?
I don't know.
Well, there's just brick.
For that one, if I recall, the only requirement was to have a brick wainscot on the corner lots.
Mhm.
So their requirement in that neighborhood was, I guess you could say, fairly low. But what we found is that the market has been a lot of stone product on the market, and given the price points and the overall type of development, they've been able to do stone. So, it's certainly up to you all. We could always look to implement a masonry percentage, and that's sometimes it's done, sometimes not. But it gets a little bit complicated as to how do you calculate it? Do you include, sometimes they exclude the doors and the windows. It can get complicated, but it's certainly not a problem if that was the direction we could make it work.
Well, on all these rendering, it looks like they use like 3 different products.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of diversity on it anyway.
Yeah,
That's the style now.
Shade.
Do you guys have a standard that, or percentage that you?
Every home typically has a good amount of stone or brick. And I think, like Adam was saying, it's hard to put a limit on it because there's some architectural styles, like the craftsman style, looks the best with the wainscot.
Right.
So it's just depending on the architectural style. Like I said, we use a lot of different materials, the board and bat and the shake, and try to add a lot of architectural features on there to make it work.
As much as you can. Yeah, they got plenty of stuff on this one.
Thank you.
Come on in.
My name is Terry Wheeler. I live on 850, just right across, almost in the middle of what this development is going to be. And of course, I'm not happy about having 350 homes right across from me. Most of, at the end of the road, that was sold in 10-acre lots. That was much nicer for our area. I am very concerned about the 3 entrances onto 850, as was voiced prior. I think 1 would be plenty. I think having 2 on Fortville Pike and maybe 1 on 850. Right now, when we go down to Fortville Pike, to the 850 and Fortville Pike, there's problems getting on Fortville Pike now. I mean, I don't know how we mow a section on Fortville Pike, and the traffic is just terrible. It's almost dangerous to mow out there, I feel, where we're at, because of the traffic. I think you are going to find, I'm not going to go down to Fortville Pike. I'm going to go the back way once this is in there. There's no way I'm going to go down and try to get on Fortville Pike. And I think most of your people in that development are going to do the same thing. And you need to come out and see how narrow that road is at the other end. Widening it from the bridge down is really not going to help anything, because it's very near, it's a country road. It was a gravel road when we moved out there, and they haven't really widened it that much since then. So I'm very concerned about the traffic. I'm also wondering what the long-range plans are. I know, like, there's property in between Fortville and this field. And I assume that eventually, for the tax base and so forth, you're going to develop that also. What are you going to do about Fortville Pike? You can't widen it very easily unless you're going to tear down some buildings. And right now, certain times, a couple of times a day, traffic is backed up way beyond the Nazarene Church. When you've got a car that's trying to turn left, many times you won't get through that stoplight for a couple of times. You can be right behind that car and not be able to go ahead because it has to wait, that car has to wait until the light turns yellow. And I don't see, I mean, right now in this development, there's a potential for probably about 1,000 cars, not even counting what you're putting across the road. And I don't see where all these cars, how there's going to be very smooth traffic patterns with that many. Plus, you get all these other developments that you're probably going to do in that area. Are you thinking about the long-range traffic plan for that? That's something that I'm wondering, because we've lived out there for over 30 years. Like I said, it was a gravel road when we moved out there, and this is just going to completely change, the atmosphere out there. So that would be my big question is, are you thinking ahead to what's going to happen to Fortville when you get these other developments in there? Are you going to be able to widen Fortville Pike that much to take care of it on it? So anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you. There's, right now, there is going to be a turn lane at Main Street and 67 that's already in the works, where when you pull up, there'll be a turn lane there on both sides. We're just going to extend it, but that's going to be in the next couple of years.
That and the South Madison extension that'll tie into 200 West and Fortville Pike, there's already a stoplight approved and paid for, funded for that intersection.
That'll
So
take some of the traffic away.
That'll start taking some of the traffic away from that Fortville Pike and the current stoplight we have.
Once again, we have to have a number to justify
And
doing anything on the
we're
road.
going to see a map of this in October, what Broadway's going to look like and what Main Street and Maple's going to look like in mid-October. So you'll see some of the traffic changes that they are going to be doing in town to alleviate some of that pressure off of coming up Fortville Pike, and there will be a turn lane there. So we'll take a look at that in October. Come on up. Oh.
Go ahead, Russ.
I'll make it quick, I hope.
Take your time.
Mike Russell, I just live 3 houses south of 850 on Fortville Pike. And this may be common knowledge, I don't know, I don't understand housing. But with all the dual living houses, which I grew up as duplexes or condominiums or whatever, that means each person's going to own half of that. So that means there has to be a homeowners association or who's going to manage that? Because as this goes down the road, it might be a beautiful place starting out, but you look 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I see a lot of these can become rentals, I don't know, so.
I think the community manages it, but he can.
Yeah, the developer does it, and then they turn it over
They
to.
transfer it to the homeowner, so they become the,
So does that work well? If you got half the houses, single families, half the houses this, you get a single family house wants this, that's just why I want to throw it out there. It's a whole different development, what you're used to, I think, so.
Right.
Gotta look to the future.
Right, I agree.
That's where I'm at.
Thank you.
You want
Go
me to
ahead,
address
yeah,
that?
answer that one, because I think there's usually
Yeah.
agreements in those.
Yeah, so for a subdivision like this, the HOA will have 2 separate HOAs, one to manage the paired villas and one for the single family, with the master HOA over the 2. So they'll each have different dues, different fees. The other question, the rental, I know the rentals came up at Plan Commission as well, and we always put in our covenants a limit on the amount of rental homes there can be. We can't do 100%. It starts getting into fair housing laws. But we typically do 80% or a cap at 80% owner occupied. So at most there can be 20% rentals. Usually it's, family members or certain situations but it deters the big, institutional investors that would perhaps come in and, try to buy up a ton of them and turn them into rentals. So, and then turning it over, I believe is at 100% once we'll control the HOA and it will be professionally managed. And then once all the homeowners are in, they'll elect a board of directors and we'll turn it over to the homeowners.
Thank you.
Judy's got a speaker now.
Sorry, Sean, I just want to follow up a little bit. So the HOA will be in place and the cap will be 20% for the entire development?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So just for everybody that doesn't understand that, right? It's a homeowners association. There'll be fees paid into it. Some of the people here may not understand that piece. And then they're going to put a cap, so no more. So here's my question. On the specs, it shows 176 villas, 172 single-family homes. We're really talking about 524 units. So would the cap be the 100 at 20%? So 104?
No, it's actually 88 paired villa buildings.
Okay.
So
I
total
thought
of 100.
Okay, so 88, good clarification. Thank you for that. Okay. So the 88, so we're looking at 340. So would the cap then be 35 or 70 homes, 70 residences, the cap for rentals?
Roughly.
And the reason I'm asking that question, a lot of people don't know, I'm knee deep in it. I'm in the real estate business, and I just sold one of my listings to one of these large investors, and the guy told me, he said, we bought 3,400 homes in 2 years. 3,400 homes in Fishers in 2 years. So we've got Vanguard, we've got BlackRock, and we also have JP Morgan, which a lot of people have that credit card, right? These are the three big banks, and they're going out and buying these communities up. And it's something for everybody to be concerned about. Because Adam, you did a great job in your presentation. On one of the notes, I think it was number 4, you talk about value. Like, how is this going to affect your value? It doesn't take much, right? So if that neighborhood's not maintained, and we're letting a lot of investment come in, it's going to have a negative effect on everybody. And the people that have homes up to that property, right, that could possibly have a negative effect on your home value. So I just want clarification. Thank you for allowing me to appear twice.
In my case, I'll just give you my personal experience, because I lived in Timber Ridge. We have no HOA. It never, because the builder went belly up.
Right.
So it was never turned over to homeowners. But my house increased in value a tremendous amount when I sold it. And it was, it's fairly good. People do a good job of taking, but we didn't even have an HOA there to do it. So it still can.
But they had you.
That was before I had to say it. I would just exist like everybody else.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And is that 20%, you said that there's an HOA for the villas and there's a HOA for the homes.
Mhm.
Is that 20% each? Or
Yeah, it would be for both.
So really it'd be 40, it's 40%?
Well, no, 20%
It's
for
still
total.
20%. Yeah, it's for both, okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay, I'm short, so. Okay, I'm just the 3 entrances, I know it's been brought up. That's a big concern for all of us out there. We fought the Arbor homes but these homes, I'm fine with them and I think everybody else is. So, we would hope that you and the builders would work with us a little
I think
bit
it's gonna happen.
on the 3 entrances. But yeah, these don't even compare to what we were dealing with before, so. So yeah, I just, hope they work with
They
us.
make a
on it.
nice community. It's
Yeah,
nice.
because it is, that's not a long area to have 3 different entrances popping out. And when they put the 4-way stop in out at 234, you'll be surprised at a certain time in the morning how people come down 50 because they don't want to get backed up at the 4-way stop going south. So we have traffic now, and that's, another concern with these entrances, so.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
They just did that.
With the road?
And then they just hung here and there. And it goes up to the next to there. Okay. Any other comments? Go ahead, Kelvin.
My name's Nicole Zalin, and I'm here representing Old Huff Homes. And I've been listening, as I know you have all been listening, about the concerns. And what I've been hearing from everybody and what I've seen in that great presentation is that this appears to be a quality subdivision, something that will benefit the community as a whole. It has great green open spaces, walking paths. Fortville's a great community and it'll fit in well. The concern I hear is mostly traffic related. And it sounds like this is a concern that has been ongoing for the community. And I would just suggest that approval of the ordinance as modified to include that recommendation, excuse me, by the planning commission that there be a traffic study is kind of a win-win for the community. I mean, these guys are paying for it and it's going to help you plan into the future. So again, we're just urging you to today go ahead and approve the ordinance as written.
Okay.
I want to see that they're gonna move one of those entrances.
I think he'll do what he says he's gonna do. I'm pretty sure.
I would just say that the three entrances is not a deal breaker for us. We're not tied to it. Just based on the comments we got in laying out the subdivision, we thought that was what made sense, but
We were gonna bend we were gonna move 900 a little bit, like do a little jump, 950 a jump. I said that would go. And see,
I know exactly what you're talking
how about if we bend it up into there
That's
and then put a retention pond on both sides? And
about.
then
That's something that we can look at. Maybe
Okay.
further.
I'm back.
People-
Okay.
I know they want you to prove it, but in my business, what I used to do, you don't approve anything until it's done and in writing. So I would ask you not to approve it till we have it, a new plan. Then you can approve it. But too many things can happen and then you're stuck because you approved it. So I ask the council not to approve it until they made the adjustments that, we've asked for and you really agreed with us, so.
Okay.
That's my thought.
One thing to consider is that the traffic study may say that you're okay with three entrances. So what I would suggest, if you're willing to come up with a compromise to keep the project moving, but also hear the concerns of the residents, is maybe just to say flat out tonight that there shall be no more than two entrances onto 850 North. And they'll still have to do the traffic study, but at least the public will have that understanding. There won't be more than two. And they'll be able to tweak the plan.
There's options there, so.
Would that be okay with you guys?
yeah, we're okay with that.
That's good. Okay, that sounds good.
Wait a minute, we got that public comment.
Well, I was gonna yell this out, but I'll do it the proper way. I'm Julie Russell. Is it possible, maybe Joe's probably the most traffic person around, none of the rest of us are, is it possible that the traffic study will say, who thought of this? I mean, maybe they would say, this is ridiculous, you need to do X, Y, Z, Maybe any entrances off 850 isn't good, but we won't know until the experts tell us what's what. So I agree with Judy.
Well, and back to this traffic study you're paying for, you're going to get the results for, and then are you following up with the planning commission or?
Yes.
So there is another group that has the same, so I that's what I'm hearing is that you're saying, what if it doesn't get done, or how do we follow through maybe?
We don't have enough data.
But if the traffic study's done and the planning commission works with them on that, because I think we all agree. We hear what you're saying,
Yeah, I think as a
and I'm hearing you
condition,
say that you're going to work on it.
as a
and will be
condition
good.
of the ordinance, if it were to be approved, we would be required to do the traffic study, implement whatever comes out of that to get a preliminary plat approved. So we can't move forward on the next step until the traffic study's done, it's reviewed, and that we agree to implement whatever the results are.
I would feel comfortable with it if we put in there won't be any more than 2 entrances off of 850.
Okay.
And then they can come up with a solution as to where.
Oh, that's Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott Meyer. I'm on your planning commission, and I'm not speaking for the planning commission. I'd just like to speak to what I think the spirit of our condition was, in that none of us except Joe, which has been pointed out, he's the traffic expert here. The spirit of that condition is that we're gonna rely on the traffic experts to tell us, should you put 2 on Fortville Pike? Should you put 2 on 850? 3 on 850, 1 on 1? And I'm not real comfortable with the putting a restriction on it now when we don't know until that traffic study is back. But our condition was that they would do the traffic study and comply with the results. So we're leaving that to the experts, but allowing them to move forward with their plat and keep the project moving forward.
Okay.
So that's what I interpret it as. Again, I'm not speaking for everyone on the planning commission, but I think that was the spirit of our condition.
But I don't think it hurts to add in that we don't want more than 2 on there, so that covers
But what if the
it.
traffic study says something different?
Well, it's no more than 2. It could be none when it comes back from the traffic.
Right.
But it's no more than 2. So that keeps it from ever being 3 if they come back and say, oh, 3's fine. But we don't want 3, so we make it 2.
What if they say 3 is required?
Maybe they say 3 is required to even get out.
But we don't want more than 2. So the developer would come back then and go ahead and do it anyway, even though the traffic study doesn't.
They have to comply with the traffic study.
Yeah.
But if you put a restriction now, and you say no more than 2, but the traffic study says the county's plan for the 850 is this, for Fortville Pike is this. I'm just saying, I struggle with that restriction predetermined before we know what the traffic study is gonna say, because if they say that 850, and I hear all of the comments from the public or the residents out there, I agree with all of them. But from my perspective, it's a little hard to put that restriction on when you don't know what the professionals are gonna say. So that's all I'm saying. You do what you want, obviously, but.
No matter what the professionals say, I think we need to listen to the people.
Absolutely.
With what they want, and they don't want 3 entrances. That's the biggest concern of theirs.
But if we have all the residents there saying 850 won't handle that, then the traffic study is gonna agree with that. That's where the professionals come in. And hopefully they'll change the speed limit through there. But I don't disagree that 2 should probably be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know what kind of predicament you put them in if the traffic study says, no, they have to have 3 for easier flow. I don't know. I'm not the traffic expert. I'm just saying I would be cautious throwing some parameters on before we have any answers. That's all. I agree with everyone back here.
Okay.
But you gotta try to appease everybody.
I'm just not comfortable passing the resolution
Without the
without the stipulation that there only be 2. I mean, I don't know what the traffic study's gonna show, but the residents out there don't want more than 2. And if they need 4 entrances, he said they're willing to put another one on Fortville Pike.
Yeah, but what Scott's saying, that the traffic says that it's worse to have another entrance on the Fortville Pike, then they're not gonna recommend
They
that.
might come up and say there's only 2 allowed on Fortville Pike, and that's all they get.
Or they only get 1 on Fortville Pike, they might say. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think they'll come back and say that, I don't know, it's just assumption.
So I don't think anybody's trying to stop this thing, but as far as tonight's concerned, I guess my question is when you go back and you do your traffic study, let's say somebody comes up with the idea that we need a roundabout at 850 and Fortville Pike in order to be able to control this thing. And a roundabout with a big pink elephant on it that I suggested online a few weeks ago, which I think would be really
Ask your
cool.
neighbors what they think about that.
It's better than those guys' sailboats, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's say somebody comes up with, that's the recommendation, maybe they want to add another turn lane. Who's financially responsible for that? Both up? The town? The county? And I'm not trying to be a stick in the mud here, but we're looking at a plan tonight. You guys want to approve it. It sounds like there's a whole bunch more work to be done. I think everybody's on the same page. Let's do it right. Who's responsible? Because you guys approve this thing, you move forward, this becomes some kind of financial impact on everybody, impacts the community. It's gonna be a shit show for future years to come, not just now. So if you're gonna approve something, let's get it right. So if it's 2 entrances, let's redraw this thing, 2 entrances here, 2 entrances here, get the traffic study done, and then come back and sign it. I know everybody wants to get it done. I know everybody's put a ton of work into this. Everybody loves everybody in the community. It's all cool. Let's do it right. So it's just something, I mean, from a general business perspective, I'm looking at this going, okay, you want to approve it tonight? I know you want to keep the project moving. You don't want to lose momentum. That's not the goal. I'm not trying to do that, but I just think that we need to think through this a little bit more. Maybe consider doing a study, redrawing this, getting that done, and then look, if there has to be some negotiations, negotiate. If they're the ones doing the development, put the impact on them. They can put that into their development costs. They're the ones that can, quote unquote, tax the people buying in that neighborhood. They're gonna help bring this up. I don't think you wanna do an assessment, but you're basically doing an assessment if you push it that direction. You're just losing leverage. If you guys do it tonight, you're losing leverage. My 2 cents.
Joe, how long will it take to do the traffic study?
I don't know if you guys already got somebody contracted to do that.
We're working on a proposal right now, but we haven't initiated it.
I was thinking take one.
Last time they did a traffic study for Arbor, they did it, I believe, during fall break. So if we could be cognizant of the timing of it, because that means a lot.
And speaking of Arbor, they only was gonna have 2 entrances on our road too.
Yeah.
I mean, on their drawing.
We didn't like Arbor though, remember?
No, we didn't. Hey,
Okay.
should we
call them
back? So it can be done with 2 entrances, but these are better houses.
Yeah, I agree.
What's it holding up if we don't? What's,
Yeah, I mean, our preference would be to, ask for approval tonight and keep it moving. I think the plan commissioner, Mr. Meyer's point was very, very good that we don't know. None of us know what the best situation is as far as entrances. And so the traffic study will do that. As far as financial responsibility, the way it was written is that it's on us to implement whatever the results are. So we're taking that risk of, if they say add 3 more, whatever it is, reduce the entrances, add more, add turn lanes, a roundabout with the pink elephant. I mean,
are they willing to accept that though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they could come back and say something like that, it'd be just the opposite of what they feel like is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to maybe alleviate some of that from, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're willing to take that risk, but we'd like to keep the ball moving, get the traffic study done, get to preliminary plat and make sure all entrances are in line with the results of the study.
But you don't have a problem with there only being 2 on 850, right?
No, I do not. I think it's a good point though that, I mean, again, I'm not a traffic expert. I don't foresee it coming back saying it requires 3 entrances.
No, I don't think so either.
We're okay putting a cap at 2.
Okay, I say we cap it at 2, regardless, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't think the traffic study is gonna say you gotta have 3 entrances coming out of your place. They're just not gonna do it, because they don't care what the traffic inside your community is. They just care what the traffic flow is out on 850 in Fortville Pike. Because regardless, they're not gonna say how many entrances at all. I don't think. Do you, Robert?
I've been listening a lot, and I think that there's no reason why, everybody wants the traffic study done. Let's get the traffic study done. And if it says you don't need 3, it can always be cut back to 2. There's nothing saying you can't do it, right? Let's see what they say. Why make that decision so hastily? Let's just go ahead and see what they have to say. And if it says you only need 2, you only need 1, then that decision can be made. The approval tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, they're bound by it to do what it is. And it's going to be up to these 2 individuals, Joe and Adam, to make sure that gets done. So are we okay with that, or do we want it to come back to us, or even back to the plan commission, which I don't think I heard anybody mention. The plan commission was okay with them doing it. So that would be the first thing, right? So that's the first situation. Second situation, well, first thing, the traffic study. Been a lot of talk on the traffic study. I think everybody wants to see what it says. Let's let them do it and see what it says.
So we're gonna postpone.
I know, but the problem is, they're still not gonna dictate how many entrances come out, but.
I don't know what they're gonna dictate.
My
I thought we
question
might
is,
be able
what if
to
the traffic
say.
study says that works fine?
Yeah,
Right.
that's,
And then if everybody's fine
But
with
he's already okayed with doing
We're
2
okay with
entrances.
it.
Right.
If they
To
say
do
that
it.
works
I
okay.
think he hears that.
And
So where's that documented, I think, is where.
Yeah, we
what the
write it in,
question
we
is.
mentioned it in the
We're gonna
ordinance.
write it in.
Yeah, we write it in, and only 2 entrances off of 850, regardless of the traffic study or anything. It's only 2 entrances,
At
regardless.
the most.
At the most, and that would make everybody happy over here.
It turns out. to
And
be
if they're
more than
and if it's,
Are you gonna have to redraw that then for the traffic folks to look at the new design? So if you're gonna take 3 roads off of 850, so before they do a traffic study, they probably need to see what you're really working.
We're gonna leave 2 entrances or remove 1 on the 850.
But they would be able to take that drawing and do the traffic.
Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of marked it up too, that's all we would do, is just.
There's a couple options there, yeah.
Yeah, we'd probably take out the westernmost entrance.
And then the second thing was whether or not we want them to have to come back or if we're comfortable approving it this evening.
I think that what we do is we worded that they have to only have 2 entrances, okay? They have to fix 850 in Fortville Pike, wherever the traffic study says. And that, I'm all right with that also.
Right.
And then,
Fix the traffic at Fortville Pike and 850?
well, that's what they're saying.
Depending on the results of
On the
of the
results.
traffic.
They'll
already
implement
committed
the
to that.
conclusions of the traffic study.
Right, they've committed to that.
Is 1. 2 is, regardless of the conclusions of the traffic study, Olthoff will commit to limit entrances on 850 to 2, max of 2.
Yeah.
That works.
That works.
But what if the traffic study says, this is way too many people for this 2 skinny little roads?
Well, as I said, they could
That's
say
what
there's
the-
0, you know.
But not if you approve it tonight, right?
No,
Like, if they say
Well,
this is way too many people.
Well, I don't think they're gonna say that, because they would have said that all over Fishers and Carmel and everywhere. They would have, you would never develop anywhere. So I don't think they're gonna go that route. What they'll do is
No
they'll make
more than
us,
2.
right, no more than
It could
2.
be 1. It could come back and say 1. It could come back and say none. But there is no more than 2. We want to make sure that that doesn't happen.
And we did already agree to road improvements on 850
Right.
north, so regardless of the results of the traffic study, we're
They'll
still
still be doing
committed.
the road improvements on
Yes,
850.
We're still committed to that.
If I can interrupt, just so you know, the original drawing that was sent out by Arbor had no entrances on 850. Now, they did change it later, but in the beginning, there were 2 entrances on Fortville Pike and nothing on 850. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that was the literature that we received in the mail.
That was Arbor.
That was Arbor.
Okay.
They had nothing on 850.
And there was a good point brought up at the planning commission meeting the other night too. If there are no entrances off of 850, then it would be hard to hold Hilltop responsible for rebuilding any of that road on the state conditions.
So the current taxpayers would be on.
Yeah.
So
How you gonna do these motions?
we're gonna have to
I wanted
rewrite the resolution, right?
If you're inclined to
They can be
approve it with what we talked about, a cap of 2 entrances in the traffic study. There's one other quick thing I wanted to read for the record that I meant to mention earlier. It has to do about on-site infrastructure. So I just want to read this real quick.
the other condition is for water and sewer service, it's understood that all on-site infrastructure, including necessary upgrades to the off-site lift station for larger pumps, controls, and backup generator, be constructed by the developer and dedicated to the town without any subsequent connector reimbursement agreement. And in addition, all new platted parcels and connections will be required to pay tap and availability fees of the town. Those current charges total $5,182 per lot. These fees are subject to change pursuant to approval by the town council. And lastly, the developer is not required to pay subsequent connector fees for the lift station improvements. So this is something that we would typically put in a development agreement, but we're not doing a development agreement for this. It's a lot simpler than that. So all this does is just protect the town to make sure that there's not money being transferred for subsequent connection fees, and it's very clear that they have to pay all the typical water and sewer tap fees like any other developer would. So if you're inclined, just say go with the stipulation regarding infrastructure. The developers approved it as well. Thank you.
So what we need is a motion to approve ordinance 2021-7A with the stipulation that they'll do what the traffic study says needs to be done, and there will be no more than 2 entrances on 850.
I'll put the motion.
You can include the utility stuff.
And then how did you want to word that?
Just say plus the utility commitment.
I'm sorry?
You could say, instead of rehashing it, you just say plus the utility commitment.
Plus, yes, plus the utility commitment.
You got that, Alex?
I
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right.
You know, sign it and pass it down. For so many, it'd be easier to do it with the
All the children.
Do we?
If you guys want to go ahead and sign it, pass it down. So I can hand it to you, and we can sign it, print it out.
Good.
No, it's just- Jack's already gone. Okay, new business, Reynolds Construction, submission of the BOT agreement draft for the Parks Department and the Town Hall renovation project. Council to consider resolution agreement. You have my agreement.
Here you are, Alex. You're presenting it, right?
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Doug Fishbein with Reynolds Construction. Sure you don't want to take a break?
No, never. I might get back before the pizza shop closes.
We've issued a draft contract agreement to Alex and Dennis for the Parks and Recreation and the Town Hall project with terms and conditions, schedules, scopes, pricing, already prepared that we've been doing over the last several months. I think the resolution in front of you today is to approve us moving forward with the project pending council's definitive opinion that the agreement is ready to be signed. So you're advancing kind of your decision process pending the legal work. And we're gonna work over the next couple of weeks to make sure that we've got the term and conditions the way that they need to be agreed. So that's the first resolution. Second resolution is for the water treatment plant. We have started our, what I call my soft mobilization. So we are we're drafting subcontract agreements to all the subs. We're finalizing on some pricing. I met with Heath today on some of the parks work. A couple more conversation points that I have to have with Joe, but the same part of the process is to approve council to continue negotiations and conclude those without having to come back to council for final approval.
that's Parks and Rec and Town Hall and water treatment.
Has anybody seen what they're planning on doing at the town hall or the parks?
I have, but I was on the committee.
I mean, we haven't even seen the plans for it.
It's nice.
It's nice.
Joe, do you see the resolutions in the packet?
So I'm looking at.
I don't have them in mind.
I don't have them either.
I have the financing ordinances and
The water project bond.
which we need to make sure we hit. I think that was intended to be included in these agenda items, but I can cover you the time if I need to. But
Yeah, we won't miss any steps. Andy done a great job of putting these together, but I can't see the writing very well on these pens.
I don't think they're in there.
I don't think they are either.
I've got copies of them with me. I know that they were sent out last week, distributed last week.
I just don't think they made it into the binder.
They may have gone into another folder. I'll leave my copies if you wish.
This here.
To do that. And then there's two more pieces our side. Renewable energy, solar power for this building and the community center. A couple of weeks ago, I was in a conversation with some renewable energy guys, and I said, this is the fastest growing renewable energy market in Indiana right now. So I kind of look at it like Tesla cars, right? You're seeing more and more of them because people are starting to pay attention to what's going on around. I've been in energy conservation for 38 years, and I just think if I look at who's coming behind me, it's the right thing to do. And then I look at the structure of the agreement and who's the installment contractor. I would suggest that this is an absolutely no risk agreement to you guys because if they don't make the numbers, you don't pay them. And if they overproduce, then it's more savings to you than what they had forecasted. The way we've structured it today is we've taken 2 years, because we'll know the results of the systems in 2 years. And if it's not meeting expectations, you ask them to pull it out and they pull it out free of charge. If you like the results and it's proving that you're hedging against inflation and your rate increases, then that's a good thing because, Duke's, I heard today that there's a 10% increase in your utility budget. If you can offset that by putting in some renewables, maybe that's down to 7%. So it's a hedge against your future OpEx costs kind of, increasing over time. So that's why solar energy is in the project. It completes the bundle. Everything else we're doing from HVAC units is very energy efficient. All LED lighting is going in any place we're going to touch it. Energy efficient pumps and motors at the water treatment plant. So that conservation process has started. This is just another kind of additive to make it even more appropriate for these times. So I think that my last piece is I gave Joe notice to proceed today for 2 things. We're running out of weather. The tennis court, the applications can't be installed at weather below 54 degrees. And so we're asking for notice to proceed today with tennis court work. If I get approval tonight, he'll order cement this week. He'll be on site on the 13th. 2 weeks at the tennis courts, 1 week at basketball, and then that's done. And then start the demolition of the sport lighting for the wood poles and all the overhead and all the electrical work that needs to come out. We want to get in there where we can. The way we structured the financing, because we won't have a contract before that work starts, is that we'll pay. And when financing gets in place, we'll just add that to our first pay app, get reimbursed for it. If something catastrophically fails and financing doesn't come about, you'll just pay them direct. Kind of what we structured the NTP to be.
Any questions?
Quick question, Doug or Heath still here? Yeah. How much work is gonna be done on the shelter out there? The community shelter that gets rented out?
I can kind of give you a scope on that. We're tuck pointing, it's pretty loose. There's a lot of infiltration because the chimney in certain areas are not sealed. The exterior is going to be renovated, and not necessarily with new siding, but some siding that out there is not in very good condition, so we're gonna try to replace and match. It'll be power washed and painted. The overheads inside, we got brand new kitchen cabinets, countertops, all new lighting. Bathrooms will be renovated. There's a thought process to go to a unisex and combine the two into one. That gets a little bit expensive because of some of the drainage work that has to happen. And there'll be ADA if they need to be. New ceilings and new lighting. We have a new card access system that we're proposing for parks to increase your security, not only for access into the buildings, but a camera system throughout so that you know who's there and who's doing what at what time.
I like it.
Repaint the interior or think about an accent wall on the fireplace wall. If I could get the ceilings out and I can follow that pitch, I'd probably put a lath board, to kind of make it more cabiny feel. And then I know one of the concerns is that there's a really low amount of electrical for the hot pots and everything that everybody plugs in. So we're going to increase that as well.
Thank you.
It'll be really nice when it's done.
What do we need for this approval to proceed? I don't have any.
Proceed.
What's your, we never did really talk the renewable energy stuff after we listened to it. We didn't really discuss if it was.
It didn't seem like there was a big appetite for it that evening, but that doesn't mean that it's.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense because you see more and more of it all the time, but I don't know a lot about it.
Now, you're talking about putting those on the town hall and on top of the community center.
So the west side of this building, because we're having a new roof up here, and then the upper roof at the community center are the best host roofs that you have for renewable. And the way the financing is you remember we talked about the lease structure.
Right.
So what I'm proposing is take 2 years of the lease structure, put them into the bond, so you don't have to pay your OpEx, it's now in CapEx. If there's a credit that has to come because savings fell short, it'll just be a credit. But that way you're not burdening your OpEx because it's going to be in the bond proceeds.
I guess my question is what if you decide it doesn't work and you want to pull it out? How do we set up things here to do that if that does happen?
Yeah, it's pretty seamless because there's just a transfer switch.
Okay.
It's some metering. That's a
Simple thing. Okay.
That's a both sides.
That's my ignorance of not knowing how it works.
You do awnings.
Yeah, I do awnings, I don't do.
You plug it in, you unplug it and it works.
Yeah.
So we need some resolutions. Alex?
Doug, you have your copies since we didn't.
And in the budget, was there anything put in for interior cameras? Because we had, is it in there for the?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Just for
Okay,
one.
interior, okay. We're inside here.
Interior
Oh,
visible.
for inside
In this
here?
building.
This building. Like furniture fixtures.
Because I think we do need cameras inside the building.
We've actually got some now.
Yeah, but I think the front area needs.
We have one at the front door,
Yeah.
and we have one at the police door, and then 3 inside the
Water
police
treatment.
department. So we do have
You don't
the
mind
main
those
entrance is
hours?
covered with camera systems, which is a motion detect.
I've seen them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like copies of
We've seen
that?
the ones we had in the email, right?
Would you all have copies of that? I can
Hold
burn
up.
copies.
So the
Well, you got to approve them, I guess.
town hall resolution will be 7-9, or will be resolution 2021-9C. And the water plant resolution will be 2021-9D.
You went in the dog.
Which one's water?
You put those on there?
Resolution.
Do you have a copy?
Here's the water. Water was what?
Oh, it's-
9D.
This is 9C.
So we need to make the motions.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, before you sign it.
You want to do these, Robert? I'll let you do it.
Robert is,
Robert's the motion
My
man.
mind's
is
done.
the king of the resolutions.
Do you want them together or can we do it, we have to do them separate, Alex?
Either works.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-9C and 2021-9D. Resolutions of the Fortville Town Council approving award of build, operate, transfer contract with Reynolds Construction for parks and town hall improvements and the water treatment plant by title only.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Guys have it, thank you.
All right, the other thing that Doug asked about was approval to move forward with the initial work on the sports courts and the lighting. And as Doug mentioned, the financing is not in place yet, so there is a risk that if everything just falls apart, the town would be on the hook for that. It's not a huge amount.
Yeah.
60,000, give or take $61,000. But that is while it is an unlikely risk, that is a risk.
Yeah.
I think we can take that risk.
Yeah.
I said it'd come out of this budget.
And that would just be a voice vote to approve, authorizing the notice to proceed.
There's nothing that we can sign as their story.
No.
Right.
Just voice
I'll
vote.
make a motion to allow Joe to proceed with the sports court work as presented.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it, thank you.
All right. Thank you. While we're still on these two, it didn't make it onto the agenda per se, but these are in your books. They're
That's what gets us in trouble.
So, but it's on the same topic. So, as far as there is a resolution under the an ordinance under the second tab, and this has to do with the financing. So, moving forward with the redevelopment authority and creating that, and then the second ordinance is to move forward with the bond anticipation notes on the water plant. The first ordinance, and it's under your second tab there, and I think this would be 2021 9B. Hold on a second, let me make sure it's not, let's go 9A for that. I thought maybe the building code was already A. So this would be 2021 9A. And this is the ordinance that would establish the redevelopment authority for Fortville. And then that redevelopment authority plays the part in the process. Dennis Otten from Bose was here and explained that to allow that portion for the parks and the town hall projects to move forward. And so that's what that ordinance will do. It will create that RDA. And then Fritz, you'll need to make your appointments as well to the redevelopment authority. And then while it's not required that you would suspend the rules and adopt this with 2 readings tonight, it would buy some extra time and help the process. So I talked with Dennis and Buzz about that today, and the world doesn't come to the end. We'll be able to do it, but it does help a lot. It allows them, Buzz and Dennis, to further their conversations with banks and so forth, if the council would be willing to consider not only this one, 2 readings tonight, but this next one on the bans.
And I might add, the timing is kind of critical.
Yeah, it is, I know it is.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-9A, an ordinance concerning the acquisition and construction improvements of the waterworks of the town of Fortville, Indiana, the issuance of revenue bonds to provide the cost thereof, the collection, segregation, and distribution of revenues of said waterworks by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it, thank you.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-9A, second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it, thank you.
Now second reading.
He's taking a breath.
Yeah, do a second reading?
Well, I suspended the rules to have second reading, and now we need the last step to be the.
So I make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-9A, an ordinance concerning the acquisition and construction of improvements to the waterworks of the town of Fortville, Indiana.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it, thank you.
All right. So Robert actually skipped ahead
It's gonna work.
and did the waterworks bonds, which is fine as 9A. The other ordinance that you have, which will be 9B, is the ordinance establishing the redevelopment authority for the town.
Where is that at?
That one is the second tab. It's a yellow tab in my booklet, but I'm not sure if you recall.
Third page, that's the yellow. That's where I was at, and I was listening to you read it, I'm like, what?
We were talking about.
It's fine. I lumped them both together. And
This would be 9B. Okay. All right, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-9B, an ordinance establishing a redevelopment authority for the town of Fortville, Indiana, pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14.5, and repealing all ordinances inconsistent therewith. By title only.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Yeah, something backwards. I'm the reverse of everybody else. I bet it's our buyer's property.
We did that to you.
That's part of the budget.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules in order to have a second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-9B, second reading. An ordinance establishing a redevelopment authority for the town of Fortville, Indiana, pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14.5, and repealing all ordinances inconsistent therewith. By title only.
Do you have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
the last piece on this, Fritz, do you know who you're going to appoint to the
No, I do not know.
Okay.
I'm just glad we got all done. Without the-
How many do I got a point three? Okay.
And
Is it?
you mentioned,
You won't really have to do anything.
as far as, this was the one where they meet like once or twice a year, and was there any guidance on, the makeup of that? Is someone from the,
Town residents.
Okay.
Willing to serve.
Okay.
No, like, conflict of interest of, they're gonna be working on,
I've got a couple of people that put in applications on some
These
other
are
stuff.
good boards for, folks that, maybe want to dip their toe into commissions and boards and whatnot, because it is, like you said, Robert, not a huge commitment. There will be 2, maybe 3 meetings, I think 2. And it's part of a couple
per year?
Right. Yes, but it's part of a significant project for the town.
Okay.
Do we need to get those signature pages done, please? Like,
Oh, yeah, we need all the signatures for.
so I can use them with the rest of my statements.
This one?
9B, yep, that was one of them. 9A,
Pardon me.
Yes, my record was messed up earlier. This here. This is the RDC's thing. This is the one I haven't do about yet. And it says, this has a resolution number on it.
Yeah, the one, the resolution on the thing that been signed.
I give up.
Yeah.
Your buyers, it's not.
No. Okay, I'm gonna wing it.
I gotta see where I'm at now. Oh, we're on F now. Madison laws.
Actually,
We skipped
right,
anything.
I think we're ready.
The letter E, the new building codes.
I gotta get the clerk here.
Okay, number E, council to consider first reading of amending and reinstating chapter 150 of the town code relating to the building alterations.
All right, so for this particular item, I won't go into a lot of detail, other than the Indiana Department of Homeland Security informed us that we needed to do a couple things related to our, related to the building codes that are within the town code. We just basically needed to have a more robust ordinance that they prefer to see. It's a model ordinance that they developed. And that ordinance has been tentatively approved by the state. So I don't know if we can do first and second reading tonight, or if it's just.
Let's just do first reading.
Just first reading.
Just in the very unlikely event that the state building commission makes a change. We used their template ordinance. We didn't change, I mean, I changed town, city to town, those types to make Fortville. But anything substantive, we took directly from the states, the state's model. So I think it's unlikely, but it's government things.
And it is a good ordinance, the template. There's a lot of, it goes into a lot more depth, a lot more detail into how to enforce the building code. So
it's really just, I'll say this, it's just an update. We have building regulations on the books. They just have not been updated in quite some time. And so this will bring us current to what is effectively required by the state now.
Is that in here anywhere?
Yeah. Untitled. Yeah.
This one's further back.
Colors don't matter over here.
So this will be 9C?
Correct.
It's actually,
Yeah.
well, it's ordinance, the 9,
Yeah, 9C. Yep.
Sorry.
All right, I make the motion to approve ordinance number 2021-9C, an amendment and restatement of Title 15, Chapter 150 of the Town of Fortville Code of Ordinances by title only.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
That'll be back on the next agenda.
Yes.
All right.
Who seconded that?
Libby.
Gotcha.
Now we're on to Madison Laws. Council to review and consider a development agreement.
Okay, this one we'd like to push to the next meeting. Some final touches that we're working on this item.
Do we get to see that before it comes?
Yes, and we want to give you more time.
Okay, because that was gonna be
Analyze
my.
it too.
It's part of the reason why I got this.
I'm looking through it, Dennis Otten's looking through it, Adam and Joe are looking at it. We'll get our comments, get it to you, plenty of time to look at it, get your comments, and then be ready. And I think a representative from NDH will be here at the next meeting too, so that we can hopefully finalize it and move forward.
So they'll be here on the 21st?
Yes.
Or
Next meeting, whatever that date is.
Today's Tuesday.
I have a question regarding this. So is this still only in regards to the housing part? Is the other half of this development been scrapped, put on hold, not gonna happen, the senior living portion?
The focus of the development agreement is on the workforce housing. The senior living has not been scrapped at all. In fact, they are going to apply for the credits for that project, I believe this month. I don't know, we tried to connect the two projects together based on concerns that we heard. And so we'll see what that final language is on how we're able to do that. Because, we'd like to frankly require them to build that second building, but there are, understandably on their side, there's some things that are out of their control. So we have to hit that fine line.
It's several months before they'll hear about that acceptance of that grant, if that's.
Yeah, I think before the end of the year, they would hear about it, but.
I think it's, if we've already had one project, I think that would weigh heavily on helping us get the other project, because we do have a need for senior living here in this town.
I think the idea was that they had to score the right amount of numbers to qualify. And the last time they submitted, they missed about 1 point. So I think they've got a little bit better idea on how to, set it up.
Okay. Do we need a reading on those at all? It's just-
No, it's just on this meeting.
Okay. All right, resolution number 2021-9A, resolution amending the spending limit of the redevelopment commission. Scott?
Sorry, I dozed off.
I have some more than coffee left.
Hi, I'm Scott Meyer. I'm the president of your redevelopment commission. First, let me tell you that commission, I know a couple of you attend a lot of our meetings, if not all of them. But this body appointed a group of people, take me out of that mix, but you have appointed a group of young, incredible people into that committee. And they're doing some really great things. I just sit back and awe and watch them. Because I'm the weakest link in there, I can tell you that. But the conversation I've had with each of you a couple months back is that we are currently bound by a $50,000 spending limit with the RDC. We have a substantial fund that is going to continue to grow. We have some substantial projects that are coming up. And it's an extra step to come up here for anything over $50,000. Not that that step is not important. We're not trying to circumvent communication by any stretch, but it is binding us and slowing us down. So I had initially spoken with each of you about increasing that limit. And we have since, discovered, reevaluated, learned that we're not really supposed to have a spending limit by statute. Am I saying that correct, Alex?
That's correct.
Okay. So what I'm here tonight to ask for is for you just to rescind that or change that resolution and eliminate our spending limit. We are creating our own facade improvement program. That's going to be in our next meeting. I'll combine my next step of telling you that the South Madison TIF district, that project is moving forward. And just the offer that we have to make on those two properties is probably going to exceed our spending limit. So again, slows us down. We've ordered those appraisals. We've had our executive session. We're ready to move forward with those properties. We just need to get it all wrapped up. So I'll take any questions you may have.
No questions?
Well, the way it's, I'm sorry.
I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah,
The meetings I have attended, I've been very impressed.
Just for clarification, it mentions, I think we discussed this, that the town council would have to have previously approved these projects in order for that cap to be removed. That's the way it's worded here anyway.
And that's the way it is worded there, that this would be a project that in concept has been previously approved. For example, in this one with the extension of the road, the council's talked quite a bit about that. And so this isn't, acquiring property and moving forward. I think that would fall under one of the projects that the council has already previously considered approved.
And this isn't a single project we're looking for this. The resolution will eliminate our spending limit. I think this year alone, the RDC brought in the neighborhood, Alex, is around 800,000.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Just this year, and then next year obviously is going to be a little bit more. So a substantial amount of money that we're getting a lot of great projects, a lot of great ideas. We obviously want to be good stewards of the money, but this is just one stepping stone to help improve what we can do for the community.
How do we word that to remove that?
It
already
should be in the
Oh,
resolution, the proposed resolution.
To make a motion to approve resolution 2021-9A, resolution amending the conditions and stipulations in Exhibit 1 to resolution 2016-4A, and increasing the spending authority of the Fortville Redevelopment Commission for certain projects. Title only.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
And then lastly, I think I brought up already the South Madison TIF district, just to understand, we had our executive session. We've had the appraisals. We already own the one property on Broadway. And then there's two subsequent properties behind it that will allow us to progress into some more negotiations with developers and those kind of things. Those appraisals are done, the executive session is complete, we've agreed on and given authority to Joe to make the offers on those properties. So after that, we'll be ready to go. All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for staying.
Town report, report.
Am I up next? No, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. I would have forgotten. Kind of going along the lines of what Scott was talking about, on those properties, that I'll write up an offer according to their meeting and send that out. But the properties we dealt with before had a realtor, so that made it a little bit easier to deal with. How do you want to move forward with these other two properties not having a realtor involved?
Our process will be the same.
Okay.
If they accept it, then, we'll put together a purchase agreement and very basic closing documents and move forward.
Okay. Very good, so we'll get that rolling. And also the grant that we applied for, thank you, for the water funds to help with the water plant. It's been pushed back a couple of different times. Now they're saying September 10th. Hopefully we'll hit something, so keep your fingers crossed. I know there's a lot of people applied and a lot of money is being asked for, so hopefully we get some dollars after that to help out with the water plant. And other than that, you've got a lot tonight, so that's all. You want an update on Main Street? Okay. Well, they're almost done with it. There was another delay on the street lights. They got pushed back in October 30th right now is when the lights are supposed to be delivered. So, yeah, so hopefully they'll get them up in the 1st of November. And then they'll be doing in November also landscaping and tree plantings, finishing up some of that stuff. The section of Main Street just south of Pearl, we got the bollards put in. Interesting, we started drilling holes, or the contractor drilling holes. Some of the large voids that found under that road, kind of scary. But we're gonna fill full of concrete, and hopefully it'll hold up. But we do get that, the bollards in, they're in up there, and I'm looking for ideas to try to break up that visual. As you pull off of Broadway and you come up there and there's black bollards across the road, you may not see those, but yet you still see the shiny yellow curb going up the road. And, I might give people the impression that they can keep on driving up there until they hit one of those bollards. So I'm looking for some ideas to do something with some pots, or maybe some trees and some larger pots or something to kind of put in there to break that up a little bit. So I'm open to suggestions.
Those water troughs that I use, they're only $150 a piece.
I thought about that, but I don't know if we want to run that theme. We've got a couple of those that we talked about using. I don't know if it's going to be enough. So whether we want to get some more, they'll match. But we'll look.
I think we need more benches.
And we talked about that. We put the benches up there. We put the same amount of benches that we had prior. And when we set those benches, I told them that we would probably be ordering more benches and probably more trash cans as time goes on.
I think we need more places to sit.
Trash cans, do they not collect water, or is there some sort of
They do.
science
In
behind
fact, I was going to see if
trash can?
the company that sells them got another top that would fit on that would kind of shield the rainwater from getting out. So that's what I've got there. There's a few little things we got to finish up on. I know the electric meters have not been put in yet. There's been a little bit of a back and forth with the cabinet that was put in on Stat Street. Power company needed to replace the pole. Subcontractor poured the footer for the cabinet to go on. Our electrician put the meter box on the side. And just so happens, once everybody put all their pieces back together, the pole is right back in the same place. There's only about an inch to put the electric meter in there. So I'm dealing with all three of those contractors to see who's going to help me out enough to, make adjustments so we can.
There's water that stands there, at that drain, right by that meter, by that
Is there?
box.
Yeah, we'll look
Pretty
at
bad.
that. And again, we talked earlier about the back trailer and stuff. That's what we use that for, clean up the storm mains and stuff. So we've got several of those that we need to do, and that's part of our MS4 requirements is to clean out drain structures, sweeping streets, and picking up leaves. They want to know how many yards, how many tons, and everything can be picked up. So As far as the position for the street utility department, I did send an offer out to someone today, so hopefully by the next meeting, I can,
Well, that's positive.
it's positive.
Moving in the right direction.
Exactly. We had some good candidates, but I was really disappointed we didn't have a lot of candidates, because there was one point in time, it seemed like everybody wanted to get a job for the town. Now you put it out there and they're just,
It's everything.
yeah.
Welcome to the club.
It's just.
Yeah, I know. Police department feeling the same thing. So that's really all I have. Unless you have anything else for me?
Any questions for Joe? Okay, thank you. Heath, Parks Department?
For the record, Heath Luther, Parks Manager. Just a couple things. First of all, I wanted to thank the council's approval for this parks improvement through Doug and Reynolds. I was driving down 40 today to motor shop and drove back to Riley Park, and it looking at Riley Park in Greenfield, and this isn't knocking necessarily Greenfield, but just what we're able to do and what we're going to do in our parks, making our parks look much, much better. So I appreciate that thought and that effort moving forward. One of those things, improvements, Doug had talked about it. We've had some more vandalism in the park. We had some down at the new restroom. We did have a lady, I believe, had her car broken into the other day. Broad daylight, smash and grab, purse type deal. So cameras, security in our parks, that the LPR bot system that's in front helps out tremendously, but getting some security up and around that will help the police department cross-reference with who's coming in and out and maybe some issues. But hopefully that's built into the improvements that Doug is proposing and that we're going to move forward with. So as we move forward, we'll have a little bit better, I think, gauge of kind of what's happening around the park. So just a couple other things. If anybody doesn't know, the Vernon Township with what they've got going on right now, the fire territory meetings and their trustees meetings are going to be held at the community center moving forward until further notice. I think they're already on the schedule. With that being said, the slide is that close to being finished. We are waiting on some shipping from the rubber mulch. Some of the final pieces are being put in place, but all the trees are in, the slides in. They're adjusting the grade just a little bit. There were guys out there this evening doing that. So hopefully in the next 5 to 7 days, we can get the mulch in, get it spread and ready to go, and the slide will be ready to open. So positive. I've got before and after pictures I'll share with everybody as it finishes up. And then the last thing that I have is we've got some trees. We've taken down a lot of trees over the course of the last 18 months, 2 years. We've had a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and a lot of those trees hadn't been replaced yet. I'm looking this fall to really start getting a lot of those trees replaced and planting new ones. I'd like to get 10 to 12 down in the dog park. There were 7 that were down in Landmark Park that had to be taken down. Hopefully we'll get new ones for that as well. I'm sure I'll be coming to you at some point in time to ask for spending on that. Those trees aren't cheap. They're about $350 a piece, plus any kind of labor that comes along with it. So it may be a cost that obviously I'll budget, but I may have to come and ask based on what the cost of those trees total is. So that's all I've got. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I think the slide should be bigger. I'm just saying, it looks so tiny. I even went down there into the shelter house to look at it because I kept telling Ken, I said.
Bigger as in wider or
No, it
longer?
looked longer.
I may or may
down
not
the hill.
have
I don't know.
moved the orange fence and gone down the slide once. And I'm here to tell you, I don't know if you wanted it to go any faster because you get booking down that thing. So,
Does that slide go straight or does it turn?
no, it goes down, it drops down.
I
There's
took a
a,
picture, of a lot.
yeah, I've got quite a few pictures I'll send to you, but I said if you guys are driving around, park.
No, I didn't, he wasn't on there.
That's why
Yes.
It's a shame, you were.
Cameras in the park opposite my office watching.
Right,
There,
right.
can you see?
For the record, there's plenty of room for the sled hill still, which is nice.
Yes, yes. From where that design was at, from where we moved it to where it's at now, very, very, very limited, spacing over to the right. It didn't take but maybe 10 to 15 foot of, I would say, the outer limits of where people are sledding, the major sledding portion. Now, the key's gonna be trying to keep people off of it with sleds and skateboards and everything else, but,
Put a camera right next to it.
there will be a camera down in that general area.
Maybe we should just put some garbage bags or something there where they can slide down the slides.
Potato sacks.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Adam, you have anything? I had one comment. I talked to Scott Cushman today. He said he did sell his property. Have you talked to the people that own the property now about they can't let that field go feral?
Yeah, we had received a complaint from one of the neighbors over there, and well-founded complaint, especially on the south half of the Cushman property. And we did send them a letter. In fact, in the letter, we said, well, not required, we recommend that you have a farmer continue to farm the property until such time as it develops, so.
Or
we'll see if they do, but at minimum, they've got to cut down the weeds. And cut down the right away weeds as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Adam. Clerk treasurer's not here. Chief?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna stick with the theme this evening, and it might be a minute. So, first and foremost, I want to go over how much support we've gotten from our community to the police department, and it's great. FAI has reached out and given us some donations, some snacks for the guys, gift cards. Reynolds Construction's reached out to us. We really appreciate it. So I want to put that on the record that we do appreciate all the community support that we get. And to me, it just means that we're doing something to show them that, we might be doing the job the right way. So, but I do appreciate everything they've done. Secondly, I want to thank all you for your salary considerations. I know all of you have put in a lot of work. We've all made a lot of phone calls, emails, texts, back and forth, but thank you for that. I think it'll put us, if it gets passed, in the right area where we need to be to keep, retain, and not have to retrain officers continuously. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Missy and Robert and Beth and the police commissioners. They've all put a lot of work into it. Although Robert and I may bump heads every now and then on some things, we came along pretty well with this one, and we worked some stuff out. So thank you, I appreciate it. Current staffing, I'm sure that's all a question of concern. Right now, we have 2 out on medical, 1 in the academy, 5 current road officers, 5 current reserves, and our hiring process application part has ended. We are doing our PT test on Saturday and our written test. So that's moving along. I've gotten permission from the police commissioners for anyone with the academy to expedite through the process because they've already been trained. They don't have to do some of these steps. So I am going to expedite some of those that already do have the academy through the process in hopes that, they're good candidates and we can maybe move them forward a little bit quicker. COVID update, the county is in orange currently. It went up about a week and a half ago. That being said, the police department is still taking in-house appointments, but it will be by appointment only, not just walk-ins. They will have their temperature taken. Citizens will have their temperature taken when they walk in, strictly because I have to protect the guys from anybody getting sick. If we get people sick, we're already short-staffed, so.
Are you requiring your officers to be vaccinated?
I am not. That is a personal choice that they can make. I am telling them that they need to be safe. They need to utilize the PPE they have. I'm not requiring them to wear masks until the governor states otherwise. I'm just kind of going with what the governor recommends at this point.
All right, thank you.
Let's see. I did get the approval from the police commission to hire Ben Kessinger. He is a long-term reserve officer. He's been here for 6 years. He's won the Reserve Officer of the Year for 3 of those 6 years. He was recently one of the ones that went into the burning house to pull the kids out. So the police commission has approved my hire of him, as long as you guys approve the funding of him. And I will need something tonight for that, a motion. So if anybody would like to do that, we can move on to the next
Isn't that
38 and a half things I got.
That one's already in the budget.
That was already.
It's already in the budget, but I'd rather just make sure it's all clean, that everything's okay with
I
that.
make a motion for chief to proceed with hiring of Officer Vic Hester.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Opposed?
thank you.
Guys have it.
I know it's already in the budget, but I just want to make sure all my T's are crossed, my I's are dotted. Additionally with that, in the salary ordinance currently, there's part-time positions for the police department. We did that 5 or 6 years ago when we were in a staffing crunch, and it's still built into the salary ordinance. I would like the council to go ahead and allow me to hire a part-time position. I'm looking at he was a former Hancock County Sheriff's Deputy, K-9 officer. He's currently ILA certified. He's up to date on everything. He quit the Sheriff's Department to go to a fire department. So he wanted to go relax a little bit and not have to take calls and get a little bit easier schedule. Because that's how we like to harass the fire guys. But he's current on everything. He meets all the state requirements of having the Tier 1 academy. He's up to date on all his current certifications, including his K-9s, up to date on current certifications. I'm working with the sheriff to talk about the dog, how we're going to utilize that. If they're going to release the dog to him, or if he has to buy the dog. I have minimal money in my budget for a K-9, but he's told me he would put in writing, he would provide food if I would provide vet services, which I think liability-wise, that's the right thing to do. So if you do approve part-time officers, then he would be the first part-time officer that I would put on. And the police commission, we've already had that discussion about it, and they were all in favor of it. So if I could get a motion to hire part-time officers, since it's already in the salary budget also.
No, I do have a question about something you just said. I have no problem with hiring a part-time officer.
Sure.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve well, let me ask my question.
Okay, yeah,
So for your budget, we already have the one K-9 officer.
correct.
You have concerns with two?
I don't.
I should say with two K-9s, but it's not.
I do not. His dog, Derek had to leave, he had a call, but all the dogs usually all the dogs in this county go up to Von Leck. They have a K-9 Olympics where they get recertified in patrol and narcotics. That dog was taken up there for recertification this year. It's about a 7-year-old dog, so it's got about 2.5 years of life, whereas police work goes, but I will not replace that dog once it goes. I will keep our current dog, Oscar, but that dog is just basically a bonus that comes with the package deal, because he's had the dog since day one, and he's either going to buy it from the sheriff's department and keep it as a pet, or he can buy it from the sheriff's department and use it on our department. And if we can get and vet bills yearly cost about $178.
As far as a car outfitted, we
We've
still have.
already got it.
Yep.
We're all set up for that. It already says K-9. There's no additional cost or equipment needed.
And he'll let you know when he's on 24, at the
Fire
fire
department,
station.
yes, sir.
And then not work the next day, or you
Right.
guys will work that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
So he'll provide me his schedule with the fire department, and then I'll fill in, and I'm thinking 24 hours a week. I'll put him on the schedule for 24 hours a week, and hopefully we can get him in that mid-shift range coverage where we get busy from, 2 to midnight or 12 to 10. That's usually our busiest times. Because right now Derek Archer's working night shift, and normally he's on that mid-shift range.
So I'll make a motion to approve the chief to proceed with his part-time hire.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it. Thank you.
Okay, now the next thing to beat you up on. Our part-time salary is currently $20 an hour. I think that's sufficient, but I told people that I would ask if it would be possible to get a little bit more. It's in my budget that I could do that because we haven't paid 3 people's salaries in a while. I would like to put it at $25 an hour.
So these people get no benefits.
They get no benefits.
Yeah.
They get nothing but a paycheck. There's no benefits, there's no perf, only thing they get is workman's comp if they get hurt on the job.
I don't have a problem with it. Make a motion to, well,
I don't
actually.
think you need that. I think we just need to put it in the next salary
That's right,
ordinance.
that's what I was just gonna stop. It's
Yes.
gonna have to go in the ordinance. Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there with you all considering salary ordinances, that would be possible, that we could move that up a little bit.
You're not out, Pat.
Is there another one?
I am. I think I'm out. Does anyone have questions of me?
Any questions?
Well, I have noticed a
Yes,
lot of golf carts in town.
Yes, ma'am.
And they are not.
They are not all registered.
I know that. That's why I was getting.
I know,
They are not all
I know, I'm
registered.
backing you on
So I'm
this.
getting ready to
Not
start
permitted.
chasing them.
Yeah, some of the
I already
officers have mentioned that they've stopped a few. They're trying to let them know, hey, we do have a golf cart ordinance. You need to go get your permit. You need to do that. So, especially Friday and Saturday nights, you'll see them
Yeah.
in the downtown area, and they usually try to park on sidewalks and
I
stuff
got
like
on,
that.
I got on
So
some people about that.
we have noticed that, and we are addressing that. We have had some speeding complaints, some stop sign complaints, and I put out extra patrols in certain areas of the town, which I'm not gonna make public, but
Yeah.
Our normal areas, normal hotspots.
I just happened to see a young kid go, I mean, I seen 3, I think, over the holiday weekend that I've never seen before. And I didn't know the people that were on it.
Yeah.
And then I just seen another one. I came home this evening. And is he, huh?
Was it red?
It's silver.
Oh, I saw a red one today.
Yeah.
Silver beverage type one?
No.
It sounds like there's multiple ones.
There are-
Yeah,
there's
there
a
are.
white
He was
one.
very young.
Yeah, there are. We have stopped several of them and give them the, hey, you need to go get your permit. We'd like to warn them first to let them know, and education's our best tool. So if we can educate them about what they need to do, and then if they consider or continue to do so, then we
Print
can
out
go
some
ahead and,
applications and just hand them out.
Yeah.
How's that?
There you
Yeah.
right?
There you go.
Any other questions for me this evening? Comments?
That's
So
all.
thank you, Pat.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Pat.
Public comment.
You got that out.
I don't have anything much to do this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You could have went home
Thank you.
today.
I'm leaving my notes back here. I got
I
about
should, what
14
I should
things
have
to talk
done, I
about.
should have moved public comment up first. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. I'm Bob Starr with Fortville Action, and this has to do with an approval that we got 6 or 8 weeks ago to do kind of a welcome back to Main Street event. It was originally scheduled for, I think, September 23rd. And Joe talked to me, he says, hey, we're not gonna have the lights in until the end of September, probably installed on October 4th, because that's what it was, the first delay. And this is not Joe, this is, you know, all about where the delays are coming from. So anyway, we got back to our bands that we had already contracted with. One of them had to back out, but the other one said we could move, so we moved it since the lights were possibly gonna be installed around the 4th, 5th, we moved it to October 23rd, which is a Saturday. And now the lights are still not gonna be in, but we are on the hook for the band still. So we talked to them and they said they would move it up in the day, even though we're not quite ready for a welcome back to Main Street thing. We'd still like to go forward with it, as long as you're okay with us changing the date. What we were gonna do is just have the band come out they would start at 6 o'clock. We'd start to close the street down around 3. Maybe have a couple of food trucks. We're not talking about a bunch of vendors or anything, just like we talked about before. And have to be down by the post office as far as I know, because I think that's the only place where I can pull power up to Main Street from the pole there. One band, and stage, and
Say in October.
October 23rd.
There might be a possibility we could have all the PowerPoints put in by then, but I don't want to make any promises.
Okay.
You know, because the PowerPoints for the events that we're putting in, like one on every block on both sides. So there's going to be several places to hook up. All those RV type panels should be here any day. We still have to get the electric wire, which I understand is very high right now.
Yeah.
And get all that pulled, get the meter set once we get that meter base figured out. But we'll be working on that, trying to get those.
I don't have any problems.
No, I do not.
Let's do it.
So you move it up to what time?
October 23rd, and still be closing the street down from 3 o'clock until probably 10. The band's gonna play 6 to 9. At least I'll give them 2 hours, now and after 2 hours of daylight. They've got lights on their stage and everything else. We were gonna put our picnic tables out, maybe put some solar lights on or something, make it look nice. We really have been kind of keeping it quiet, talking to the shops on Main Street, because we really didn't know for sure what we were gonna do or when. But I thought if we could talk all the shops on Main Street, maybe put a little extra light out or do some kind of decorating, bring something out on the sidewalk, you know, whatever. Make it a nice event. We're gonna have the street closed. It's gonna be, we're hoping the band brings a lot of extra people to Fortville, just like they, you know, do for the Winterfest or whatever, but, and we boost it on Facebook, do all the stuff we want to do, so people can see our new Main Street, and that's what it's all about, so.
So the whole street will be closed off or just half of it?
From Stat Street to, basically the entrance to Greenfield Bank.
And we Pearl.
Yeah, yeah, just, and now it's a little easier to close it off. But we have to keep the traffic off from coming in on Pearl or from Mill.
Jake Burgess might just have an issue with it, that's the only person.
Okay.
He's already.
I make a motion to approve the request, FAI request for a date change on their event.
Second.
Requested, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, thank you.
Thank you. And finally, you're getting ready to get some more seating for your Main Street, so we'll let you know about that soon, but that's something we're working on too, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for getting the answer.
Hey, Bob.
Okay, any other public comment? Town council, Libby?
We actually go back, and since Missy wasn't here, she had salary ordinance on that. I can go ahead and touch on that if you like.
Touch on
Or unless you want- whatever you want to do. But we had prepared this evening for the first reading. I think it was under Missy's comments, and since she's not here, I can go ahead. Last time we talked, I know we budgeted 4%. What was presented at the last meeting was 12% for the officers, 8% for the lieutenant, and 4% for everyone else. That's the way that this ordinance in front of you here was prepared. Now there's another change that I'll make before we come back. Is the $25 for the part-time police officers, and I can make that before second reading. But,
This is 9B, right?
That'll be 90.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-9B, 2022 wage, position, and salary ordinance for the town of Fortville.
With that change.
With the stipulation to change the part-time police pay to $25 an hour.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, town comments, Libby.
Do you want an update on that? Sure. That Treats on Main, October 30th from 10 to 2. We've got like 6 antique farm equipment. We've got a petting zoo. We've got the VFW is going to do a haunted house that's free. And they're going to have a hot rod out with some fall decor for a photo booth. There's going to be lots of photo booth opportunities.
What's the date again?
October 30th, it's a Saturday.
And it's on Main Street?
It's on Main Street.
Okay,
And-
so we're closing the street down too? So we're closing it down on the 23rd and the 30th?
Yes. You already had this approved.
Oh,
We
I
talked
know.
about this.
Oh, I know.
said
What
it.
are your?
I said Jake
Yeah.
Burgess is gonna be the one that's upset.
What are the hours for your?
10 to 2.
10 to 2?
That's
Sure,
morning, Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
right, okay.
So I hope to have
Thanks
the
for
street back
refreshing my
open.
memory.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, 10 to 2, okay.
Friends, we're not married. You should be remembering what I say.
Yeah.
Like my husband. Put that on the record.
Strike comment,
Husband.
please.
I've got it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's probably listening.
He's not. He just texted me. I was like, I'm gonna be.
Okay,
Tanya.
I don't have anything. Okay.
I don't have anything.
The only thing I have is the, remember our recycle event we were gonna have was rained out, stormed out. There was some little money left in the budget for the solid waste district, and they asked if we wanted to reschedule that for October.
Yes.
So I said I thought we would. I bounced it off of Joe and Missy. They agreed. They shot me the dates they were available. And based on some of the things I've already heard, we're gonna need to close Main Street and on the 16th.
Yeah.
But actually, they're not available 10-2. Obviously, we got stuff going on 23rd, 30th, but this event would be more like a 9 to noon type thing, so it wouldn't interfere. Already checked with the township, their lot would be available like where it was last time. And I'm wondering, and Missy was gonna check with our paper shred vendor. Will you maybe check with her tomorrow if she's done that? I'm thinking, and 10-9 is Riley Days in Greenfield. We actually, I mean, this is catered towards this corner of the county, but we do draw from there as well. So I'm thinking 10-16, if the paper shred guy is available, maybe that's the date we shoot for. Any questions on that, or? No?
And that's everything, right?
Yeah, just like we did last time, yeah.
Good.
And then that, I'll let them know, I have a meeting coming up with them next week, that's the date, I'll shoot them an email, but, Joe, if you could check with Missy, she was gonna reach out with them. Kind of 9 to noon. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you.
I have,
Okay,
I have nothing.
thank you.
So make a motion, we approve the signed vouchers.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Make a motion, we adjourn at 9:20.
I second.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Oh my gosh, next time. Pizza. Pizza.
Yeah, I say next time when meetings last this long, Denver's needs to.
I
needs to get some
agree.
pizza, right?
In my big pie.
Me too.